The film opens with Gwen Taylor coming to report to a motel. She is about to be appointed as a caretaker for the night shift. Gwen is supposed to report to Teddy Miles, who owns the motel. However, she couldn't find him in the lobby. So, she starts wandering around the motel when Gwen finds a certain room's door is opening due to the wind. Right after she closes the door, Teddy suddenly comes out of nowhere and introduces himself. A bare head slips from the wall multiple times, which is the only irritating thing inside the lobby. He tells her she will be paid in cash for the night shift because nobody really likes to work there at night. Gwen tells Teddy that she has moved to the area alone, without any family, and that she is grateful for the job. However, as Teddy shows her around the hotel, Gwen notices that it's infested with cockroaches and rats. The place is very untidy, with rooms that aren't clean, making her feel like she has to take care of everything. Teddy then shows her the supply room and lets her know that she needs to use the brick to hold the door open because it only opens from the outside. Additionally, the parking space at the back is densely populated with old cars, and there is a non-functioning pool with a sinkhole that could probably fit many people inside it. Moreover, the hotel lacks security altogether, leaving Gwen wondering how she will survive the night alone while covering the front desk, especially since there's only one CCTV camera in the front and nowhere else. Gwen asks about security since she is alone in the whole area. Teddy says that nothing will happen because nothing has ever happened in this area before. The atmosphere feels unsettling to Gwen, almost as if the Addams family used to live there. But Teddy expresses optimism about the hotel's future as he dreams of franchising it. However, Gwen seriously doubts his plans and starts to have second thoughts about taking the job and complaining about the rats. But Teddy gives her some money, saying dinner is on him, to prevent her from leaving the job, as it would be difficult for him to find a replacement. He reassures her by mentioning another lady named Carmen, who has been working there without any problems, implying that Gwen has nothing to worry about. Later, he hands over the responsibilities to Gwen, saying that he will come back around 7 a.m. in the morning, and until then, she is all alone. There is only one guest staying right now in the motel, so things should not be difficult anyway. She then sees someone peeking out of the window of one of the rooms, and she goes to the front desk to see that it's being rented by a woman named Alice Marsh. Gwen approaches Alice's door, asking if she needs anything, but Alice only responds from behind the door, refusing to open it completely. Gwen notices that Alice's hand is red, which unnerves her, and she leaves. Later, while tending the front desk, she orders food and walks away from the desk, but suddenly the phone rings. She notices the call came from room 13. She sees that the keys are still there, and no one has rented that room out. And when she answers the phone, all she hears is someone laughing. This sends shivers down her spine, and she cautiously enters the room with a knife. Initially, everything seems normal since the lights are off, but she hears a noise from the bathroom. Despite initially finding no one there, then she checks the phone to see if it's still working. Behind her, you can see something moving on the bed. When she begins to leave, the phone starts to ring. She sees the call is coming from the front desk, that someone behind her says it's for you. Causing Gwen to flee in terror, she runs out of the room. Fortunately, Alice comes to Gwen's rescue, a young woman who is seeking help from her because the hairdryer is not working. They go to the supply room and Alice sees the knife. She asks Gwen what it was she saw in that room. Gwen says she hasn't slept in 20 hours, and this is her first night on the job. Her brain is just scattered. Gwen says she thought she was seeing things, and Alice says, "Well, it's a shame. I do have a good ghost story." She finds a hairdryer and Alice accidentally kicks the brick away, locking them in. The lights go out, and Alice begins to panic. She says there's someone else in here. She felt it touch her, but it was a rat on her shoulder. Just then, the food delivery guy shows up and opens the door for them. Gwen decides to share her food, and Alice tells her that she left home because she and her mother didn't get along. Gwen tells her she should be careful because it's dangerous out here on the road for a woman by herself. She asks Alice if she wants a Coke and goes to the vending machine. While she's at the vending machine, a car with the blacked out windows pulls up behind her. The car sits for a second and then pulls off, but then the car makes a U-turn and comes back around. Gwen quickly runs back inside and watches from the door as the car pulls off. Alice accidentally scares Gwen, and causing her to drop the sodas. She thanks Gwen for dinner and then goes to fix her phone back in her hotel room. Gwen tells her not to forget to lock her door. Gwen hears the reception bell ring, but when she gets to the front, there's no one there. That's when the stuffed bear head falls off the wall again. She sees a car pull up, so she grabs a knife and goes to the front desk. That's when a very obnoxious couple comes in, making fun of the motel, And then the man walks over to Gwen and says, "Now we would like your very best room." The man informs Gwen that they'll only be staying for an hour so he can be intimate with his wife. When she tells them they don't rent rooms by the hour, he begins to curse and berate her more than any normal person would be able to handle. She keeps cool and repeats the price of the room. The man then begins throwing money at her, more than 4 times what the room rate is. He takes the key and leaves. Later, Gwen is walking the grounds of the hotel and hears loud slapping noises coming from that same couple's room. Peeking through the window, she sees them playing intimate domination games. The woman hears something outside and goes to the door where Gwen is hiding. After putting up a warning sign about rats in the supply room, Gwen goes back to investigate the sinkhole in the pool. She tries to go down to get a closer look, but it breaks, leaving her at the bottom of the pool. She tries to get up and sees another apparition of a woman crawling after her. She starts screaming, and Alice arrives and helps her out of the pool. Gwen is patching up her arm from the fall when Alice says, "You saw something again, didn't you?" She goes on to say, "You know this place is haunted. This is one of the most notoriously haunted areas in the state." Then Gwen hears laughing and sees the obnoxious couple leaving the motel. She asks Alice if she's noticed a strange car lurking around the area. She then tells her a story about when she was young. A man named Walton Gray broke into her house, killed her mother and sisters, and tried to get her, but she was the only one who survived. They caught him and locked him away in an institute, but 2 days ago he escaped. She went out to say that she found her mother's necklace that went missing the night of the attack in her mailbox. She said that she was so scared she ran, but he followed her. Also that she had seen him twice outside tonight. Alice thinks she should call the police for her own safety, but Gwen tells her to stay in her room, lock her door, and not come out. Alice agrees. On her way back, Gwen sees the ghost lady in the lobby. When she gets to the front desk, there's no one there. She goes to the monitor and sees the same ghost lady outside the lobby, but when she goes to the window, she's gone. Gwen goes back to the monitor and sees the lady in the same room. The ghost woman follows her until Gwen escapes into the parlor room, locks the door, and calls Teddy. When he answers the phone, she yells at him for not telling her the place was haunted. Teddy is in disbelief and tells her the place may be spooky, but it's not haunted. But Gwen says this is her last shift and she's not coming back. She'll see him at 7 a.m. The reception bell rings. When she gets to the lobby, she sees a man that makes her feel uneasy. He's asking for a room. He asks if he knows her from someplace, and she says no. She tells him it's 91 for the night. He pays and she gives him the keys to cabin 8, but he wants to be shown to his room. On the way to his room, she notices that his car is the same one she's been seeing all night. They arrive at the cabin, and she begins to give him a tour of the room. She sees the scissors she left there earlier. As she nervously continues, the man closes and locks the door. The man asks her for her name, but she says she has to check to see if there are any clean towels. While she's gone, he looks out of the window for something, but when he turns back around, she's standing there with the scissors and stabs him in the neck. As he falls to the floor, he says, "Don't you know who I am?" She says, "You're Walton Gray." But he says, "My name is Raymond Bailey. I'm your doctor. You've been under my care at the Ashford Psychiatric Facility for 12 years. 2 nights ago, you escaped." She doesn't believe it. She says, "You're Walton Gray, and you killed my family." He says, "No, Gwen, you did it. Do you remember what you told me about how you were mistreated by them and how they hated you? Do you remember what you did to your family?" Then we see a flashback of what took place many years ago. Still in a state of denial, she says, "Walton Gray killed my family." He tells her, "There is no Walton Gray. You made him up. That name is an anagram of your name, Gwen Taylor." She turns and sees her deceased family in the doorway. As the doctor reaches for the sedative he dropped, he tells her she needs her medication, that she's not well, and that he called the hospital once he knew he found her. Not wanting to hear anymore, she picks up the scissors and tells the doctor to open his mouth. When the hospital orderlies arrive to assist the doctor, they see Gwen standing outside. When she walks back into the room, they follow. Moments later, Alice hears something outside. She sees the open van and goes to investigate. When she enters the room, she sees one of the orderlies on the bed and the doctor in the corner with his tongue cut out. The other orderly crawls from the other room with Gwen standing over him with the scissors. Alice runs back to her room and locks the door. The lights go out. Gwen breaks the door, and Alice escapes through the bathroom window. She gets to the lobby, grabs a knife, and Gwen's car keys from her jacket. She backs the car out but can't get it to shift into drive. That's when Gwen breaks the window with an axe. Alice escapes from the car and gets inside the hospital van she saw earlier, but there are no car keys. She runs back to the room and finds them on one of the bodies. But as she goes back out to the van, she's stopped by Gwen, who finishes the job. Later, Teddy arrives and sees strange things as he looks around his hotel. He goes over by the pool and sees Gwen climbing out. He asks, "What were you doing down there in the pool?" She says, "Come over here and I'll show you." The scene switches to a year later with a young man traveling from out of state to his new college campus. He decides to find a motel to stay the night. He sees the all tucked in on the app. It looks totally different from when we last saw it, and Gwen seems to be running the place. While he's looking at the pool, Gwen tells him that last year they had a sinkhole at the bottom that was so big you could fit 5 people down there. They go to the front desk so he can check in, and she gives him cabin number 8. She says it's her favorite. Just then, she starts to see the faces of the people she's taken out, and the man asks her if she's okay. She says, "Never better." And Yogi falls off the wall again.